Here at Corsopia, we have finally decided to start raising our very own bees. In this video, we will show you from start to finish how we picked up our nukes and introduced them to our hive. So we're here at what's it called? Beewise Honey Farm, getting our nukes, and we're about to watch Ed come and get this swarm out of a tree. So this is the closest I've ever been to a swarm of bees. Look at all those hives. All of those boxes, those are hives. I think there's more. Lots of hives. The box was too full that these guys were in. So they're like, okay, time to leave. And this is where they've kind of hung out so that the bee is in the center, you said? Is that correct? The queen bee is in the center, being protected by many worker bees.
I just need a hand to hold it.
Okay, you're gonna go help. Oh, he's coming. Not ready yet?
Just lift it up to here.
Ed is the owner of Beewise Honey Farm, located in Niagara-on-the-Lake. Now, do they get angry when you're doing this?
No.
The bees do not get upset during this process. As of right now, they do not have a home to defend. Notice how Ed is using his bare hands to move the honeybees into their new hive. The bees right now are gentle and not stinging. That being said, Ed is a professional beekeeper and has been doing this for many years. Do not do this on your own. Some loose clothing. Wow. Now, would you be able to spot the queen in here? Or?
I could, but if I can watch and see if she's still around on top here, but most likely she's in already because the way they're making the noise here, they're indicating.
Oh, is that her? A big black butt?
No, this is a drone.
Oh, it's a drone.
Don't sting.
Okay. A drone is a male bee. They do not have stingers, and their only job is to mate with the queen. That was fascinating to watch. Now to bring our bees home to their new hive. Just got home from Beewise Honey Farm, and Mr. Corso here is going to set down our nuke, which is, there's a queen in there, the queen bee, which we found out our queen bee is from Italy, and the rest of the bees are from Australia. But they were all inspected to make sure that they don't have mites and they're healthy. So right now they're gonna sit by their hive on our property for about half an hour. Is that what they said? Half an hour? And then we're going to come out again and introduce the queen into the hive. So if you can see the very top in here, this little part here, this white casing, this is a little plastic casing that the queen is in. And she's in there with this white stuff at the one end that's like a fondant or like sugar candy kind of thing for the queen that she's eating. And the bees are all swarming around her and gonna try and get her out. So we're gonna place that part inside the hive first, and then the rest of the bees will kind of follow. Excited?
Very.
So what are you doing now?
I'm making a sugar solution for the bees for, I guess, some supplemental feeding now that we're about to introduce them to the hive there.
So why would the bees need this?
I don't know. I don't know how many of them are foraging at the moment or what's out there. As recommended by Ed, who just came from in the podcast I'm listening to. And I'll eventually notice that they're not taking from here anymore, and that means they're all out doing their thing, and then I can take this away.
So is this just for them to be fed while they're getting used to their new home, like their new hive?
Yeah, they need, I believe they need the source of the, to drop, comb and stuff like initiates comb production.
Okay. So what have you put in the jar so far?
The jar is empty.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be a 2-to-1 sugar to water or water to sugar. I forget which one is which, but the guy on my podcast gave a procedure to do, which roughly makes the correct proportion. So you put some sugar in.
Okay.
You draw a line, and then as you start level it off, and when you put your water in, it will dissolve and the level will go down, but you keep putting water in until you're back to the line.
Okay.
And then that is apparently is the correct proportion of water to sugar.
Perfect. So once adding the water, it went a little bit above the fill line, but all the sugar is being dissolved in the warm water. And dissolved means it's like disappearing, combining with the water. Now you're twisting the lid on top, and the lid has tiny little holes so that the sugar water will filter through into this little contraption that we have here, and the bees will drink from there, right?
You flip it upside down.
Yeah.
And Ed had said that it won't drip. You'll have to go to the hole and
actually use their proboscis. Do they have a proboscis? I know butterflies do, but what about bees?
proboscis.
I've always said proboscis, but since we learned about butterflies, we've been saying proboscis. I don't know. Tomato, tomato. Okay, thanks. Okay, Mr. Corso is getting ready. He's putting on his beekeeping suit. Do you want to explain, is there a reason why the beekeeping suit is white?
Less threatening to the bees, perhaps. I think more importantly, from the podcast I've been listening to during the summertime, if you still feel you require such a thing, it's probably the coolest option. Because on 30-degree days, if you're checking multiple hives, like spending a couple hours in this thing, as you can imagine, in this middle of summer, you don't go and put something like this on. So,
Gotcha.
Temperature.
And what else is it protecting you from?
Bee stings.
What about, can they get into your sleeves?
Try not to have them do that.
Okay.
You see these gloves with elastics at the end, how high up these are going to go. And I have heard that if you aggravate the bees, they are experts at finding the tiniest little hole to get in and defend their hive is what they're doing. So,
Okay, so you want to make sure that you have proper protection so that bees can't find the hole if they are angry. And you said you're going to do something to help calm the bees down.
yes.
Oh, we've lost Mr. Corso.
This going
There he is.
now.
And what is that?
I don't know if it calms them down. I think it does in the bee movie, doesn't it?
It does. Well, in the bee movie, let's not talk about bee movie.
I know.
There's a lot of really wrong information in that movie.
So from what I understand, the bees communicate in the hive with pheromones, something called pheromones.
Okay, that's a big word for our little scholars in our classroom that we might
I
need
don't know the
to
exact
look up.
definition, so
Okay.
yeah, we'll have to look that up. Anyway, it's a scent or something they release to communicate with each other. So if you make the bees angry or if one stings you, then an aggressive pheromone is released that lets them know to keep stinging this intruder. The smoker, what's the word?
Emits?
It hides, yeah, the smoke will come out, it hides that pheromone, so maybe confuses the bee or they can't get those signals very well. So that's what we use the smoker for. And you don't go in there and smoke, smoke right in the bees, just the area around, a couple little puffs.
Okay,
And that apparently does the trick.
so we're gonna light it.
So I've got flyers. This is the first time I'm using it. I've got some flyers and some pine shavings in here.
Okay.
I don't believe I need it to stay lit for long. It's still windy in here. Just gotta get it going. And then,
So that's like a bellows pump, right?
yeah. Smoke's coming
I can smell it. Ah, look at that. Cool. Smells like a campfire.
So hopefully that stays lit for the
Okay.
next 10 minutes or so.
Okay.
Veil. I don't know if the net goes on the inside or the outside. I was thinking I'm going to try on the inside.
Okay. This is our very first experience with bees, so it's a learning process for us as well. You look awesome. Look at that.
Hopefully not going to find out the hard way whether or not I have it on correctly.
This is an EpiPen that we have on hand in case there is an allergic reaction to a bee sting. Mr. Corso here actually was stung by something, not exactly sure what, in Algonquin years and years ago, and went into almost anaphylactic shock, I guess. He experienced multiple symptoms of it being in anaphylactic shock, except for the closing of the esophagus, or his airway. So we have this on hand just in case, because he has undergone bee venom treatment and has now been told that he is cured of being allergic to bees and wouldn't be any more affected by a bee sting than anybody else would. So we do have this on hand just in case, and we know how to use it. Now that Mr. Corso is ready in the proper safety gear, we are ready to open up the box and introduce our bees to their new hive. Okay, now Mr. Corso is getting the hive ready. This is our, and what did you say this particular hive is called?
This one?
Yeah.
The style is Langstroth.
Right, but you said that there's like, I forget there's other names for them.
This is a deep.
A deep, okay.
That only refers to this distance.
Okay.
So this is about 12 inches I measured. I didn't measure a medium, but it's maybe 2/3 of a deep.
Okay.
And then
You gotta speak nice and loud because it's windy.
and then the shallows I saw, they were short.
Okay.
They were only, I don't know. But those you just use for supers. So
And what's the super?
A super means like above or on top of. So
Okay.
once the bees,
But it would be the same height?
No.
A super?
no,
Oh, okay.
they were short ones. There were 3 sizes.
And it's still considered a super if it goes on top?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's when that's what the bees put the honey in. Just
Okay.
the honey, and that's what you collect.
Cool.
So I need to make room for these frames.
And this in the box, I don't know if we mentioned it already, it's called a nuke. I think we did.
It's short for nucleus.
Nucleus, okay.
It's like a tiny little colony. Do you want to get a picture of what it looks like?
Sure.
Now, what the frames look like,
Okay.
and then maybe next time I.
So there's
inspect.
inside the frames, and this already has, this is not wax. This is not something that the bees produced.
Close-up shot. Show the honeycomb.
Here we go.
This hive or box will be the brooder box. This is where the queen will lay her eggs.
All right, we're opening up the nuke. It's been sitting out here for just over half an hour, I guess.
Once the bees feel at home, they will start to make wax and propolis, and the queen will begin to lay her eggs within each cell. This bottom box is often referred to as a brooder box. Once this box is full, the bees will need more room in order to store more honey so that they will be able to better survive through the winter. The supers are the boxes placed on top of the brooder box. This is where we will harvest our honey from as well.
So they've already propolized her to these frames. I actually have to pry this off. Yep, she's got a nice yellow dot on her back.
So that's the queen in there.
Now Mr. Corso is taking each tray and removing it very carefully from the box to place it in the hive.
Wow. We're going into their new home. I'm gonna try and get closer. I am not wearing gear. Look at that. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Just stay there. They're not interested. They're not interested in getting anywhere.
So they've made wax in there. They've also, it looks like they've made, what would you call, what's that stuff? That's not honey. Is that propolis?
That.
And there's probably babies in there too.
Capped brood.
Capped brood. So that means there's bee larvae in there. If I'm correct, right? I don't know as much of the terminology as Mr. Corso does at this point. I'm still learning. Learning never stops.
Never thought in my life I'd be doing this.
Need help? Is it stuck? Look at that. Wow. Amazing. And the queen is in there. And the queen releases a pheromone. Well, now you're smoking her out. He's opening up these little doorways so that the queen can get out.
48 hours.
Yeah, she's got 48 hours to get out, and if she doesn't get out from there, eating through, it's almost like a fondant, like a hard candy, then there's other little doors that we can open up so that she can get out. So now Mr. Corso is just doing a tap to see if he can get the last bit that are clustered in the box onto or into the hive. And I'll get a little bit closer once he's done, but I can already see that close to the center where you see the little casing where the queen is, they're already starting to cluster around her.
Our bees are in their new hive. They will settle for a couple days before they begin to forage.
So now you see this little group of bees that are at the front of the hive, like their entrance. What they're doing is they're kind of like telling the other bees that this is their home now, that the queen's in here. Come here, come on in home, come in your home. And that, I believe, are they now, is it a frequency that they're sending out, or is it a pheromone thing with them as well?
Pheromone.
It's a pheromone thing that they release. Awesome. We still have some in the box here.
I hope they go home.
So they should be going home soon too. We'll have to check later on, maybe in a few hours, and they should all be in the box.
All the bees have settled, and we look forward to learning so much more about these amazing creatures.